Elias, a painter whose canvases often mirrored the turbulent landscape of his own self-doubt, navigated the bustling art world with a perpetual ache of unfulfilled potential. His studio, a cramped haven of turpentine and forgotten dreams, was littered with half-finished works that whispered of talent, yet screamed of insecurity. He yearned for recognition, for someone to truly see the vibrant, chaotic beauty he wrestled onto his canvases, but his self-worth remained a fragile construct, perpetually seeking external validation. He was a moth, drawn to any flicker of light, however artificial. Then, into his dim world, stepped Serena. She was an art dealer of striking charisma, her presence a whirlwind of silk and sharp intelligence. Her eyes, dark and penetrating, seemed to instantly grasp the unspoken narratives within Elias's art, and her words, when they came, were a symphony of lavish praise. "Elias," she purred, her voice a low, captivating melody. "Your work, it's not merely art, it's a revelation. A raw, untamed genius begging to be unleashed upon the world." Her flattery, potent and intoxicating, enveloped him, a balm to his long-festering insecurities. He felt seen, truly seen, for the very first time. Serena promised him success, not just fleeting attention, but a permanent place among the greats. And Elias, starved for affirmation, believed every honeyed word. Under Serena's tutelage, Elias's confidence soared. He painted with a newfound vigor, each stroke imbued with the belief that he was finally on the precipice of greatness. Yet subtly, insidiously, Serena began to weave her web. She discouraged his meetings with old friends, particularly Lena, a fellow artist whose quiet, honest critiques had always grounded him. "They don't understand your vision, Elias," Serena would say, her tone laced with a dismissive pity. "They'll only hold you back." Elias, basking in Serena's effusive attention, slowly, almost imperceptibly, drifted away from his supportive circle, blinded by the dazzling light of her approval. His art, once a pure expression of his soul, began to contort. Serena subtly steered him towards commercially viable themes, pieces designed to sell, not to speak. Elias, desperate to maintain her praise, found himself creating works he didn't truly believe in, his artistic integrity slowly eroding with each compromise. He'd catch glimpses of his reflection in the polished gallery floors, a stranger staring back, his eyes holding a flicker of unease he couldn't quite name. Lena, ever perceptive, noticed the change. She approached him one afternoon, her brow furrowed with concern. "Elias," she began gently, "Serena, she seems to have an unusual hold over you. Are you truly happy with the direction your art is taking?" Elias, bristling at the implied criticism, dismissed her warnings with a wave of his hand. "You just don't understand, Lena," he retorted, his voice sharper than intended. "Serena sees my true potential. She's opening doors you can't even imagine." Lena's expression shifted to one of profound sadness, a silent acknowledgement of the chasm growing between them. Faint whispers of Serena's questionable dealings with other artists occasionally reached Elias's ears, rumors of unfair commissions, of artists feeling exploited, but he chose to ignore them, dismissing them as petty jealousy. How could such a brilliant woman, so dedicated to his success, be anything but benevolent? Yet a persistent, gnawing unease began to stir within him, a subtle emotional exhaustion that contradicted the outward triumph. He was producing more, selling more, but the joy of creation had been replaced by a hollow echo. Then came the night that shattered his carefully constructed reality. Elias, having forgotten his sketchbook, returned to the gallery after hours. He heard voices from Serena's office, hushed but distinct. He paused, a strange premonition gripping him. Through the slightly ajar door, he heard Serena's voice, cold and devoid of its usual warmth, disparaging his latest collection to another dealer. "His masterpieces are merely paint by numbers, darling," she sneered, a cruel laugh following her words. "Utterly derivative, but the fool believes every word I tell him, and he sells." The world tilted. The foundation of his new success, built on Serena's honeyed lies, crumbled into dust around him. Elias stood there, frozen, the echo of her contempt piercing his very core. He was left questioning everything, the lavish praise, the promises, the very essence of his artistic journey. Before we continue, subscribe to the channel and tell us in the comments where you are watching from. The chilling words echoed in Elias's mind, each syllable a hammer blow against the fragile edifice of his self-worth. He retreated from the gallery, the city lights blurring into an indifferent smear. His studio, once a sanctuary, now felt like a prison of his own making, filled with the mocking shadows of his compromised art. He had been a puppet, dancing to Serena's tune, believing every false promise. The betrayal was a physical ache, a searing pain that eclipsed even the sting of his shattered ego. He saw her face everywhere, heard her syrupy voice in every corner, and each memory was a fresh wound. The next morning, Elias confronted Serena. His voice trembling with a mixture of anger and disbelief, he laid bare her cruel words, demanding an explanation. Serena, however, was a master of evasion, her composure unwavering. Her eyes, usually so captivating, hardened into chips of ice. "Elias, darling," she purred, her voice dripping with feigned concern, "you're overwrought. Perhaps you misheard. Or perhaps you're projecting your own insecurities." She gaslighted him with surgical precision, twisting his accusations into proof of his instability, subtly planting seeds of doubt about his own perception. Elias, already reeling, found himself questioning the very evidence of his ears. Had he imagined it? Was he truly losing his mind? He stumbled out of her office, defeated, the confrontation leaving him more confused and isolated than before. He plunged into a deep, suffocating isolation. The vibrant colors of his palette seemed dull, lifeless. His brushes lay untouched, gathering dust, monuments to a passion extinguished by deceit. The joy of creation, once his lifeblood, had been replaced by a gnawing emptiness, a profound sense of shame that clung to him like a shroud. He barely ate, barely slept, haunted by the spectre of his own gullibility. Lena, ever the steadfast friend, refused to let him languish. She appeared at his studio door one afternoon, her presence a beacon in his self-imposed darkness. She didn't offer platitudes or demand explanations, simply sat with him, a quiet, reassuring presence. She spoke of art, of integrity, of finding his own voice again, her words a gentle balm to his wounded soul. She offered him a lifeline, a path back to himself, without pressure or judgment. One desolate evening, while aimlessly sifting through old gallery contracts Serena had given him, Elias stumbled upon a hidden compartment in a dusty desk drawer. Inside, he found a small, leather-bound ledger. His heart pounded as he opened it. The pages revealed a meticulously kept record, not of legitimate sales, but of Serena's true machinations. It detailed an elaborate scheme. Artists' works sold at exorbitant prices to unsuspecting collectors, while the artists themselves received only a fraction of the actual profit, often through convoluted, untraceable transactions. He saw his own name, Lena's name, and the names of countless other artists, all victims of her calculated greed. The full, horrifying extent of Serena's manipulation crashed over him. This wasn't just about his ego, it was about systematic exploitation. A cold, clear resolve began to solidify within him. The shame and betrayal now fueled a burning desire for justice. He would not be another forgotten casualty in Serena's ruthless game. He began to secretly gather evidence, meticulously documenting every entry in the ledger, cross-referencing dates and amounts, building an irrefutable case against her. Each discovery, each unearthed truth strengthened his resolve, even as the emotional toll weighed heavily. He battled internal demons of regret for his blindness and anger at her calculated cruelty. A few days later, a call from Serena. Her voice once again was honeyed, almost seductive. She invited him to her private viewing, praising a new piece he hadn't even started. "Elias, my dear," she purred, "I know we had a misunderstanding, but your talent, it's undeniable. Let's put this behind us. There's so much more we can achieve together." She tried to flatter him back into submission, to reassert her control. But this time, Elias saw through the thinly veiled deception. He felt a flicker of newfound strength, a quiet defiance. "Serena," he said, his voice steady, "I think I've seen enough." He hung up, a small yet profoundly significant victory in his fight for self-respect. He understood now that exposing Serena would mean sacrificing his own fragile reputation, inviting public scrutiny and ridicule for his past complicity. But the need for redemption, for truth, far outweighed his fear. Elias, armed with the undeniable truth of Serena's ledger, reached out to Lena, a renewed sense of purpose fueling his every action. He laid out the damning evidence, his voice steady as he recounted the exploitation, the deceit, the crushing weight of her manipulation. Lena listened with a quiet fury, her eyes reflecting both shock and a deep, empathetic understanding. Together, they meticulously organized the evidence, cross-referencing bank statements, gallery receipts, and the chilling entries in Serena's secret book. The task was arduous, fraught with legal and ethical complexities, but their shared conviction propelled them forward. They understood the magnitude of their undertaking. Exposing Serena meant not only challenging a powerful figure in the art world, but also risking their own reputations. Yet the desire for justice, for the countless artists who had been silently exploited, dwarfed any personal fear. Their target was Julian Thorne, a prominent art critic known for his uncompromising integrity and influential voice. Elias, accompanied by Lena, presented their meticulously compiled dossier to Thorne, the weight of their accusations hanging heavy in the air. Thorne, initially skeptical, grew increasingly disturbed as he reviewed the evidence, his expression shifting from detached professionalism to righteous indignation. The sheer audacity of Serena's scheme and the meticulous detail of Elias's proof left no room for doubt. Thorne promised to investigate further, and true to his word, his exposé in a leading art publication sent shockwaves through the entire art world. The article, searing in its condemnation, laid bare Serena's true nature. The charismatic dealer, once lauded for her Midas touch, was now revealed as a calculating predator. The art world reacted with a mix of shock, outrage, and dawning recognition. Other exploited artists, emboldened by Elias's courage, began to come forward, their stories echoing his own. Serena's empire crumbled with astonishing speed, her galleries emptied, her reputation irrevocably shattered. The downfall was swift and absolute, a testament to the power of truth. However, Elias was not immune to the fallout. Public scrutiny was intense, and many questioned his complicity, his blindness to Serena's machinations. The whispers stung, the accusations of naivety and even opportunism were difficult to bear. Yet, amidst the criticism, an unexpected wave of support emerged. Other artists, those who had suffered in silence, reached out to him, offering solidarity and gratitude. They saw not a fool, but a survivor, a beacon of hope against a predatory system. This newfound camaraderie became a powerful balm, healing wounds that Elias hadn't realized still festered. In the quiet solitude of his studio, Elias began to paint again. But this time, it was different. His canvases became a raw, honest chronicle of his journey. He depicted the seductive allure of flattery, the crushing weight of deceit, the agonizing process of self-discovery, and finally, the arduous path to redemption. Each brushstroke was a release, a catharsis that purged the lingering bitterness and shame. His art, once a means to external validation, was now a profound expression of his inner truth. One evening, Lena found him in his studio, surrounded by his new work. He turned to her, his eyes filled with a quiet gratitude. "Lena," he began, his voice thick with emotion, "I owe you an apology. For my blindness, for dismissing your warnings. You were always there, even when I didn't deserve it." Lena simply smiled, a warmth in her gaze that spoke volumes. "You found your way back, Elias. That's what matters." Inspired by his ordeal, Elias dedicated himself to helping other artists navigate the treacherous currents of the industry. He organized workshops, spoke at art schools, sharing his story as a cautionary tale and a guide. He taught them to identify manipulative tactics, to trust their instincts, and most importantly, to value their own artistic integrity above all else. He found genuine fulfillment in this new role, his passion for art rekindled, no longer seeking external validation, but creating from a place of authenticity and purpose. Years later, a younger, impressionable artist, wide-eyed with ambition, approached Elias at an exhibition. The young artist spoke of a charismatic dealer who had offered incredible opportunities, showering them with praise. Elias listened patiently, a knowing smile playing on his lips. He saw himself in the young artist's eager face, a reflection of his past self. He offered guidance, not with judgment, but with wisdom born of experience, helping the young artist discern genuine support from deceptive flattery. Elias had achieved not only justice for himself and others, but also a profound sense of self-worth. He finally understood that true value, both in art and in life, came not from the applause of others, but from the unwavering certainty within his own soul.